My name is Mark Campbell. I am a pro trainer from Edmonton. Pro trainer is someone who certifies personal trainers for the Association of Canadian Fitness Professionals, CanFit Pro. I've been doing that for about 18 years, and I still work as a personal trainer. I've done about 40,000 personal training sessions, as well as continued education, and I continue to work with people in nutrition coaching. Part of the reason that personal training and nutrition has become such a passion of mine is because I've had a lot of issues in my own health, and I've been able to sustain a fairly healthy lifestyle, but never having the answers that really got me to that perfect place and state of mind, state of being. So I was diagnosed about 12 years ago with an adrenal disorder called Addison's disease, and it started with a lot of weakness in my energy. I didn't feel really good. I found myself feeling faint and not having the energy to even do a workout. In fact, some of the energy even to wake up in the morning was really tough. It left me feeling a little depressed. And after being diagnosed about 12 years ago, I've been doing maintenance and work to try and keep myself in the best possible shape. But there was just things missing. The food wasn't really hitting the spot. I wasn't getting the right stuff, even with all the information that I have as a nutritional coach and a nutritional course instructor, keeping up and continued education with some of the most current information and applying it, trying it, because I knew that it just wasn't up to par. And the medical society continued to look at me as broken, but didn't have a fix for me other than a lifelong drug, what do you call that? A life of drugs and medications to try and keep me at normal. For me, that didn't seem like it was the way that it was supposed to be. Yeah, about 8 years ago, I got into an opportunity to learn a little bit about DNA, and it was actually Carmen who told me a little bit about this DNA project that was going on here in Edmonton. And I got involved as a trainer and found that people were getting results by following their DNA that they would normally follow a fad instead. In fact, the DNA did somewhat align with their intuition, but people always go with what you're supposed to do, what you should do, even what a trainer would tell you to do. And we were discovering that even though there was only about 8 DNA being tested at the time, that there was a lot more information that wasn't available just based on demographics, based on fad, based on even the averages of what works for people. So I found that was really great, except it was really limited because there was other factors. There's so many DNA to test only 8 of them. It left it really limited. So seeing some of the tests that did work for people still left some questions in there. And even after having my own DNA tested about 8 years ago, I learned some really cool things about myself. I didn't know what to do with it. There wasn't really any coaching in place. There wasn't anybody who knew how to manipulate the program that you were on for fitness or for food. And even myself as a trainer, I didn't really know what to do with it. It was great information, but it was just information. So I kind of left it and went back to what I thought was the right thing to do based on education, based on information, which is great, but it didn't still fit perfectly. So I kind of just struggled for the last 8 years. And in fact, the struggle was getting more and more real. It was getting harder and harder. And I started to blame it on age. In fact, about 2 years ago, I went back to the medical system and said, I'm really sick. They looked at me with any amount of muscle that I had and said, well, you're obviously well enough to exercise. You're not that sick. I don't think they took me that seriously. And I still wasn't getting some of the answers. In fact, the doctors eventually gave me a preliminary diagnosis of a second disease that meant the Addison's disease that I was originally diagnosed with was a secondary disease to ALD, adrenoleukodystrophy. That's a death sentence. That was telling me that I only had maybe a year to live because I had already been experiencing some of these issues for 10 or 12 years. So that put me into an emotional spiral, and that caused me to feel that I was just doing for others and I couldn't really do for myself, which is really frustrating when you're an educator, when you're a coach, and when you're a trainer to not really have some of those answers for myself and even some of the clients. No matter how much experience I had, there was some intuition involved, but not enough to really know those differences and know what to do with them. During an opportunity to present a video in regards to a certain type of fad diet, I reconnected with Carmen and met up with Matt, and we talked about a particular type of diet that I had just decided to try for the sake of this educational factor. Just, is this going to work for me? Is this going to work for other people? And I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And as soon as the video was complete, a conversation led me to try the DNA again. I, first of all, didn't know that they were testing some 20 or 30 times the amount of DNA they originally were testing. So there was other DNA that would be, in a sense, a domino effect on another DNA. So if your body, for instance, wasn't absorbing a vitamin, and that vitamin would then allow a gene to work properly inside of another scenario, I didn't have that other information available. And moreover, there was no real professionals at that level. But again, that was about 8 years ago. What I found was that Carmen and Matt had spent that entire 8 years learning and working with DNA, understanding it, getting into it, finding out how one can affect another, and working it with it practically to see how it can affect. And through their experience and involving myself with my own interest, advocating for myself and my own DNA, I started getting better. And not a slow process, a very quick process, because I had an amazing coaching, I had amazing information, and I was inspired and motivated because I was day by day feeling better. And what was really cool for me was it was about me. It wasn't about what I learned. It wasn't about the masses. It wasn't about what should be the ideal for the normal person. I'm far from normal. In everything that I do, it was really nice to have something that was so customized to me, and not just in the DNA, but the coaching approach that I had from both Matt and Carmen. They really helped me to understand and analyze. They even helped to catalyze some of those upward spiral motions of feeling better and feeling like I was really going to be able to experience those differences. I was motivated and inspired, and in fact, I have the health now to go with it. And the greatest thing, I went back to the doctor feeling I've never felt this good before. I went back to the doctor and I demanded, if you will, advocated for myself to be tested again in my adrenals. And there's no sign of disease. It was a misdiagnosis. And I lived with a misdiagnosis. In fact, after reading and understanding my DNA, Matt pointed out to me that I was actually allergic to some of the food that I was eating on a very high level. My body was rejecting it and was causing my DNA to not work properly. This is what's so exciting about it. And now, because I am a public speaker and myself, along with my partner and my speaking partner, Jeanette Biro, we travel across Canada talking about different new cutting edge fitness ideas. And that was, there's not even a case of what should we talk about. I want to tell the world about what DNA has done for me, and what having the best coaching and advocacy on my behalf and based on information, and that's unique to me. I want the world to have that opportunity. If we're not a sick world, we're going to be a healthier and a more loving world. And so DNA is not just about the body, but it's about how you end up feeling. I couldn't feel really good. I couldn't feel really happy if I was feeling sick or couldn't even leave the house. Now, as I teach, there's not a conversation that the word DNA and the understanding of which doesn't play into it. It's literally changed my life, and with the coaching and the information support that I get from Carmen and Matt, honestly, I couldn't imagine living any other way. You know, there was a moment where I thought, what if my DNA comes back and tells me all this bad information about myself, tells me that I suck, and that it's not the DNA. There's nothing wrong with the DNA. There's something wrong with me. I thought, what if the DNA comes back and tells me this is why that you're sick, or this is why you suck? Honestly, that's what I was worried about. But you know what? It empowered me. It empowered me to know that maybe I do have a variation in a gene, that there's a gene that's not working properly. But knowing that allows me to advocate for myself to supplement where I need with certain foods or certain vitamins to make sure that I get what I need. And there's no questions. if you are sitting on the fence, if you're wondering, is this right for me? Is this going to be something that's going to impact me? Absolutely. This is all about you. There's no duplicate of who you are. This is the time for you to make your choice, whether it's for you yourself or your family. Even knowing that, say, your children might need to eat differently than you need to eat, or that you might need to avoid a certain food because it has an adverse reaction and you never knew that, or that even a certain type of exercise is better for you. Knowing that can save you a lot of time, and time is really the most valuable thing, I think, in the world. So get on it. It's only going to take a few weeks. By the time that you're going to start feeling better and knowing better and more confidence in what it is that you're doing, and that in itself is worth any of the time and investment that you're going to make in looking at who you are on the inside out.